I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, as you can see. I grew up with these movies. I've collected all of them. I've watched the Young Indiana Jones show, and I've collected the comic books, read the novels, and everything. I love this character, and I love the world that he lives in. And so this is coming from a Indiana Jones fan, but also from a cinema fan. I'm a writer myself, and I've done like screenplay, screenwriting, all that stuff. So the angle for this review is going to be from a writing standpoint, from a fan standpoint as well, and how it delivers as an Indiana Jones movie. And before I go any further, there's going to be spoilers in this review. When I start talking about major spoilers, I'll let you know. Let's get into it. What I do with my reviews is I give you the good and the bad. And I'm going to start off with the good in this. There is a lot of division. I think there's going to be a lot of divisive opinions with this movie. Unfortunately, though, I think the negative will outweigh the positive because of just the history of Lucasfilm for the past 10 years, everything they've done with Star Wars, and just, you know, Kathleen Kennedy behind this movie as well. And this movie portrays one of the most irritating, worst characters ever since, like, probably Rose Tico or Admiral Haldo from The Last Jedi. Just an insufferable character of what's it called, the Elena, Indy's goddaughter in this, who is a daughter of one of his friends, archaeologist friends. And I'll get into all of this now, but let's get into the good things, and then we'll go into the bad. So there's quite a few good things here that I think were fun and really did feel like an Indiana Jones adventure, starting off with the intro prologue in the 40s during World War II, where India is captured by Nazis and they're looking for the Spear of Destiny. And that's really what starts off the story and this prologue, but then it moves forward with this new character, this Nazi scientist named Valor, and he is actually more interested in this thing, the Dial of Destiny, or what they call the Antikythera device created by Archimedes around like 200 something BC. The Antikythera is it's a fictional device that Archimedes supposedly built to study astronomy, all kinds of things, like a huge science experiment. But the biggest thing that Valor wants it for is because it supposedly has access to create fissures in time. In like portals where they can travel, somebody can travel in time by finding the location and putting the date on this dial, on these two dials, and putting the location where you want the portal and putting the time where you want the portal to take you, and so forth. So that's how this device works. He's after that. Indiana Jones is trying to fight his way out in this prologue. It feels very Indiana Jones movie like. I'll give it that. My approach to this movie is not going to be overly negative because I'm going to try to give it a chance. But when I go into the bad, you're going to see that I won't give this movie any mercy, because the bad is really what makes this a big disappointment for this movie. Another positive good thing was the music. It was good to hear John Williams playing the familiar Indiana Jones theme music, and a couple of stuff that we heard in The Last Crusade as well is playing there in the background during the action scenes. I think he really did a good job, especially there's stuff where they're in New York in the chase, in the moon landing parade. He does some stuff that's very reminiscent of that era, so he does a really good job. It's John Williams. He knows music. Music is in his blood. He knows how to do music right in this movie. Just a mild spoiler here, Marion is back. It was nice to see her here, and also Sala. Those are two good positives. And lastly, for the good that I'll add is that the adventure aspects of the movie I think are pretty good. They're pretty cool. There's adventure moments, there's exploring caverns, there's chases, and there's like exploring underwater wreckages and things like that. So the adventure stuff in this feels like Indiana Jones. But then now I'm going to segue into the bad and then let you know what doesn't feel like Indiana Jones. And most of it's going to fall on Atlanta and on the characterization of Indiana Jones. So for the bad, Indiana Jones at the beginning in his first scene in contemporary time, 1969, that first scene I thought was really bad, and it already started to give you a hint of what was to come in terms of his characterization. And it's just breaking down his character, in like making him a failure or something, or having failures defeat his soul and defeat his spirit. And with all the wisdom and all the horrors and all the and enemies and antagonists that he's fought over his younger life, you'd think that he would have the wisdom and the strength to overcome pain and at least adversity. Maybe he won't overcome it, but he'll at least be positive and move forward about it, because he's seen a lot of bad things, especially if living through 2 world wars. I've seen a lot of horrible things. Yes, you could say, oh, and this is really where I'm going to get into a lot of heavy spoilers right here with the bad. Him losing his son and then him losing his wife, Marion, I guess it affects him. I can understand that it's family, but at the same time, he's already like a much, much older man. He's very wise, and he had a very wise and strong father and mother, if you've seen the Young Indiana Jones movies, and he's gone through a lot of pain there as well with his parents. So do you think that he just would kind of pick himself up, and instead, what they've done here is they've done like a Jake Skywalker thing on him, and they've given him like this defeatist kind of attitude and spirit at the beginning of this movie, just like Luke Skywalker was in those horrible sequels, and he had given up on everything and everybody, and even including himself. Like, he just didn't want to live. And in this case, Indiana Jones, like later on in the movie, he just doesn't care anymore about anything, and he gives up. And I don't understand why these filmmakers like James Mangold, doesn't matter if he made all these great movies before, and like Rian Johnson, can't write older characters that are successful, respected, and happy. In the beginning scene, Indiana Jones's neighbors don't give a crap about him, and they're like a nuisance, and they disrespect him when they close the door in front of his face. And it's like, this is the legendary Dr. Jones, Indiana Jones, and you're just gonna disrespect the guy here. The guy fought Nazis. The guy killed Nazis. And now the filmmakers, the writers, have some stupid hippie closing the door on him. I don't like that juxtaposition, and I don't like the placement of where they're putting him there, regardless of whatever painful things he's gone with his current family. I don't like that he's in a rundown apartment where filled with like filth and cockroaches and things like that, and loud, annoying neighbors. I don't like the environment where they put him, because like, what story are they trying to tell here again? Because in Crystal Skull, regardless if a lot of people didn't like it, the good thing about that is he had some character development there. In the beginning of the story, he was losing people like his father and Marcus Brody, but by the end of the movie, he gained a family. He gained a son and a wife. So, and he got an understanding of what it meant to search knowledge, because that's what the alien, they're not aliens in that movie, they're interdimensional beings. They were looking for knowledge, they weren't looking for treasure or gold. So he kind of got some wisdom there from that too as well. And so in comparison to this movie, they're going backwards. They're resetting his character to kind of what he was at the beginning of Crystal Skull, but he's even worse now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Another thing that I think I've heard a lot of people complaining is that the movie is boring or something like that. And I think that has to do with the pacing. The pacing really suffered, I think, in the act 2 of this movie, and going towards into act 3. And that's with this new kid that the new short round Teddy or something like that. I'm not a fan of this character. He was almost as irritating as Elena. When act 2 is about to end in this movie, they were at sea in an underwater thing, getting some kind of information so that they can find the second half of the dial. They go to Sicily, and the kid kind of says, they has a dialogue scene with Elena that slows down the pace after that. He goes and he pickpockets some kids, and he gets some ice cream, and then he gets captured by the bad guys. We follow him and everything like that. Indiana Jones and Elena, like, they're like, oh, they took him. Oh well, let's go find this second half of the dial and go into these caves. They don't care. It moves forward with them. Then the bad guys show up because they found the location too, and then they're dragging the kid Teddy, and Teddy escapes, and then one of the henchmen follows him. They fall into this river, and then the henchman dies, and Teddy survives. And then when Elena and Indy find the second half of the dial, Valor shows up. He captures them, and then Teddy like kind of surprises everybody, and they're able to kind of, there's like a gunfight, and then Indy gets shot. He gets captured, and then Teddy and Elena have to go save him. But I thought that whole mess of following Teddy really hurt the pacing, and it kind of just made things boring in the sense that we don't care about Teddy. We don't care about Teddy that much. I think Teddy did not need to go get captured or anything by them. That he didn't have to go. We didn't have to follow him in so many scenes. We didn't have to have scenes of him kind of saying, "Is Indy the one in charge now, or are you in charge?" It doesn't matter. We all know, the audience knows, Indiana Jones is in charge. Are the dynamic that they're trying to present to us with Teddy and Elena and with Indy, like, it's not that interesting, honestly. Like, we really only care about Indiana Jones. Elena's already irritating. Teddy's probably almost there as irritating. We don't care about Teddy and Elena. So for them trying to, the director and the writers trying to make Teddy and Elena interesting, give them some kind of depth with like, oh, who's in charge here? I don't care. We know Indiana Jones is in charge. Just keep Teddy with Indiana Jones and Elena. And what happens when they go to the cave, Teddy basically becomes a lookout to see if any bad guys start showing up. And in the moment where Indiana Jones does get captured by Valor with the second piece of the dial, Teddy just falls down, surprises everybody, and you don't have to have that whole mess of him getting captured, because the whole point of him getting captured was a waste of time, and it slowed the movie down. Another negative, I felt like there was no point in having, spoiler, Indiana Jones's son Mutt from Crystal Skull die. And I guess he died going to Vietnam, and I guess that was the reason, and that was a catalyst for Marion and Indiana Jones separating. I just don't understand, like, why are you going to do that? At the end of Crystal Skull, he had some character development, he gained a family, he was happy, and even though The Last Crusade is the best way to end the series, at least in Crystal Skull, you ended the series with almost like that's it, there's no more. The next adventure for Indy is going to be his family life. It's going to be the life with his son. And perhaps his son will take over later on when he's older. You didn't have to kill him. There was no point. Like, it just basically, as I said earlier, it resets his character to who he was at the beginning of Crystal Skull, but you add some kind of emotional trauma to it. And I don't think that's really necessary, because then the movie ends with Marion showing up. We recreate a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's like, that's the best you could do. And at that point, like, throughout the movie, I was kind of giving it chances, and I was interested in this Dial of Destiny device that they're trying to get, and the dynamic between Valor and Indiana Jones, and the prologue at the beginning was pretty cool. But Elena also kept irritating me, and then the kid Teddy was irritating me. Some of the action stuff was kind of saving it for me. But then, as soon as like and this is the big epic fail, because then Act 3 starts, right? And it's pretty epic. They literally just jump into a portal in time with this Dial of Destiny. You're like, oh crap, we're in like 200 something BC with the Romans invading Sicily and everything like that. Indiana Jones is just awestruck, and he's like amazed that they're there. And it's just a crazy action sequence with the plane, the plane that they fly through this portal in this storm. And so in the end, Valor ends up dying. I thought it was, like I said earlier, I thought he should have died in a more supernatural type of death, but they just crashed the plane on the beaches of this battle in that time period. And then Archimedes shows up because he knows that something's going on, and it's connected to his device. He finds Indiana Jones, and this is the moment that ruins the whole movie. This is the moment that ruins the whole movie. And Indiana Jones is basically like, I don't want to go back. There's nothing for me to go back to, and my life is so sad. Who am I going to go back to? Like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, and this is where I'm going to say it as a fan, not as a writer, if you're because this is where they failed in his characterization. I've gone through some stuff where it's about writing, but now I'm going to talk about Indiana Jones as a fan, because this is not Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones that made that decision at the very end of this movie is not Indiana Jones. If you're a fan, Indiana Jones grew up with a father, a mother, and friends that would never encourage him to make this decision. And Indiana Jones himself, in the original movies, in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, in the books, in the comic books, and the novels, that Indiana Jones and all of that content and all those and and all that stuff will never make this decision because it's reckless. He would affect history by being in the past, staying in the past. It would be irresponsible of him, and he is just dumb and stupid for him to let his emotions and pain rule over him. He in the earlier movies, he and even in the show, if you've seen the show, he goes through a lot of painful stuff in life, like just family painful stuff, like stuff that a lot of us go through. So he understands the pains of life. It's not just him fighting Nazis, and it's not just him in action scenes. I'm not talking about like physical pain, getting punched. He's gone through pain. If you've read the stories, if you watched the show and seen the movies and paid attention, he's gone through emotional pain with other human beings, losing them, broken relationships and things like that. So for him to just give up there because it's just that's not Indiana Jones. He will never make that choice. And what makes it even worse is that Elena punches him and makes a decision for him, and Indiana Jones should have made the decision himself. If the filmmakers, if Mangold had Indiana Jones at that moment, he's right there looking at Archimedes, and he's in the past, and he's like, I think I'm gonna stay here. There's really nothing for me over here. But then maybe even Archimedes, if Archimedes would have said something to him and said, son, I understand your pain or something like that, and maybe something to inspire him, I think it would have been better if it would have come from Archimedes himself than Elena punching him in the face. Because at least it would have been almost like history, and Indiana Jones is like the person that knows all about history. It would be like literally history telling him, saying, son, it's okay. Life's about pain or whatever like that. You're going to get over it. Go back home and stay strong. But no. And not even like a moment where he realizes, wait, I'm making a bad decision. That's okay. I'm good. Let's go. Not even that. The writers here wanted to add the female here that had the common sense, and they just don't respect Indiana Jones's experience, wisdom, and understanding of things, of just relationships, and just all the stuff that he's learned from his family, his father. They don't understand Indiana Jones. I think in that moment, that ending would have been better, where he made the decision to go back out of his own will to his time, I think I would have been much more favorable of this movie. But because of that decision and the way they went about it with Elena doing that to him, the movie is a complete failure in my opinion, to the Indiana Jones character, because that's very integral to his character. And then he has no character development. He goes back to his time, he sees Marion, they kiss and they make up, and that's it. That is not character development. He did not learn anything through this. He should have learned all of that. He should have learned all of that on himself, or with somebody with a lot more wisdom than Elena. Somebody with more wisdom than Indiana Jones should have at least helped him, like Archimedes, not Elena or anything like that. So I think they just failed right there, and that really hurt the movie. And endings really do make movies. You could have a mediocre movie in Act 1 and 2, and you can have an incredible Act 3, and it could really make a movie. And it can also break a movie. Act 3 of movies, you can have a really good Act 2 and 1, and then have a horrible Act 3. It could break a movie. So I just think that the Act 3 for this movie could have been better, a lot more epic as well, and a little bit more supernatural elements in there with the villain, how he died, and then definitely better character moments with Indiana Jones. And Act 3 just completely destroyed this movie. Act 3 of this movie destroyed this movie. If you just take out Elena being irritating, if her character was better written, better, more likable. And Elena essentially in this movie is an antagonist. She's not evil, but she's an antagonist to Indiana Jones. She locks him up. She leaves him in danger. She disrespects him. She punches him. Like, she's an antagonist. She's against Indiana Jones's goals for the Dial of Destiny for most part of this movie. It's only when I guess she feels bad for him that she decides to help him, but she's basically an antagonist in the movie. And just her being irritating also adds to that. But if you took her out, if you took all the irritating aspects of her out, the movie is actually pretty decent with her irritating stuff out of the movie. From Act 1 and 2 is pretty decent, but the Act 3 destroys the movie. So I just can't really I don't think I'm gonna see the movie again. If I see it again, maybe I'll see the best parts about it and just skip all the stupid stuff. But I'm definitely not gonna go see it at the theater again. One more thing to add: the fact that Atlanta is the one to have knocked some sense into it is also disrespectful, and just goes back to all this like. Really negative feminist stuff that they are trying to add in movies these days, and the Indiana Jones to have to deal with that, with the character like that, and with writers and filmmakers like that that undermine him and destroy his character like that, the movie fails because of that. And it's Indiana Jones who should be teaching the next generation, the younger generation, life lessons and wisdoms and understandings, not the other way around, because he's the one he's the smarter one in the room, and he's the one that would be, and the strongest one also, even strongest spiritually and emotionally. He should be the strongest one and the smartest one in that scenario. They just don't understand that in society a lot of times older people are the ones that pass on the values and the life lessons to the younger generation, and that's what Indiana Jones should have represented here. He's sort of like a juxtaposition of what history and mythologies and cultures are to a society, to younger generations, where they present life lessons, and that's what Indiana Jones could have been here. But instead, they wanted to be this obnoxious, irritating girl that knocks some sense into Indy, and then he goes back home, makes up with his wife or whatever like that, and it's like, what was the whole point of this story? So in many ways, and I heard other people say it, that this movie feels soulless. It just has no soul, and in many ways that is true, because if you just keep on the surface, like there's some fun action, Indiana Jones type action in this movie, some nice, good, interesting story elements. But a lot of that really doesn't make a good Indiana Jones movie. You have to have those relationships and those good characterizations like we got in those original movies. And in every single one of those last four movies, Indiana Jones has character development. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, he realized to just let go of the arc, let go of his obsession, and just save Marion and save himself. In Temple of Doom, it was save the kids. Don't worry about the glory, the fortune and glory. Save the kids that were in danger in that movie. And in what's it called, The Last Crusade, almost the same thing. Just don't worry about the relics. Save the. Actually, he always wanted to repair the relationship with his father. But also his father learned a lesson there. Him and his father learned a lesson, and they amended and they bonded. And Indy let go of the treasure of the Holy Grail in favor of his relationship with his father. And in Crystal Skull, he had nothing. He lost his father. He lost Marcus Brody. He didn't give up like they made him give up in this movie. He said, you know what? I'm going to just get a small teaching job, go somewhere quieter, and just do some stuff, my archaeology stuff in a quieter life. And instead, the adventure found him. His son found him, and he found Marion, and that was the end of that movie. But in this movie, there's really no character development for him. And there were parts in this movie where it looks like he was going to end up kind of getting some development, but it just completely blew it all away in Act 3. And I said, no, Elena is the one that basically moves the story forward. Let's kind of fool you in with this adventure for an hour and 30 minutes or so, hour and 40, and then in the end just give you the middle finger, like we don't give a shit about Indiana Jones. So there you go. They don't give a shit about Indiana Jones, and I don't give a shit about this movie at all. I saw it once, and I'm only gonna see it once. So my review for this, if I give it out of 10, I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5. And the 4 is all the cool stuff with all the cool Indiana Jones action and the story elements and things like that. And it was nice, of course, to see Harrison Ford back in costume playing this character as well. But I just think it was just really bad for them with that characterization and those choices, and this character of Elena ruined the movie. This Teddy kid is nowhere near comparable to Short Round, funny or energetic or interesting. I just think the movie is a big disappointment, and we'll see what happens in the coming days, weeks, with also Lucasfilm, because they have so many losses, and we'll see. I'm sure something has to change at Lucasfilm, because they've just ruined they've ruined Star Wars, and they're already ruining Indiana Jones. And for me, Crystal Skull, as much as there's some stuff that fans don't like in that movie, like the fridge scene or mud swinging with the monkeys and things like that, it's not a franchise killer. I like the movie. Of course, the original three are way better, but the movie is fine. It's an Indiana Jones movie, but it's not a franchise killer. This one, in my opinion, is a franchise killer. I mean, also Harrison Ford's not gonna make any more, but the only way they could even like bring it back is just to reboot it with another actor, and that's not really that simple. So that's gonna do it for my review. Very, very long review. If you stuck around to the end, I appreciate it. Thank you again. Hit that like button if you like this video. In the meantime, I'll see you guys next time.